Power Painters. This is Taylor Payton of TayPayArt.com and PowerPainters.org coming to you today with another Power Painters video. So since the past couple of videos have been more about the painting side of things, I thought I'd talk a little bit more about the personal development, philosophy, self-education, autodidactic end of things because I think that that's really important too, and it's sort of the firmament, it's the foundation upon which the rest of the technical stuff is really built. And so if you implement what I'm going to talk about today, you will have a lot more success, and overall, you'll get a mental model that will allow you to parse what it is you're doing, which, if you're watching this video, is probably learning art in some capacity. So when you want to dig into any skill, and art is definitely on this list, you want to deconstruct it. You want to take it and turn it into bite-sized chunks that you can actually digest. Like, imagine if you try to eat a week's worth of meals in a day. You would die. You would get so sick. You would have like an awful time because we're not meant to take things in that way. And information is the same as food in that sense, in that regard, in this particular analogy. Because if you're going to turn something into a edible, quote unquote, bit, it's a lot more digestible. It can actually get into your nervous system, and then you can begin to feel like it's a part of you and not so separate from you. Because when you're trying to build a skill, the thing that is the most frustrating is that feeling of incompetence. Everything feels sloppy or floppy, and you're like slogging through it. It doesn't feel effortless. You're not hitting a flow state. And there's a reason for that, and that's because you don't have your mileage down, for one. Mileage is a big part of it, but another big part of it is having a roadmap to follow. It's not just wallowing around hoping to stumble upon things. I mean, that can be fun and really rewarding once it does happen, but if that's your only method for learning, then you're in trouble. To eliminate that undue suffering, I'm going to give you a better method for taking in information, and I basically just gave you sort of a primer as to why it's important, and I use this one myself in order to augment my learning and speed up the way that I perceive things and chunk skills together, because it's just more fun to see faster progress. It's pretty simple. This isn't a hack. This isn't like, oh, skip the fundamentals and get a good result and really don't understand why you got it, because that in the end is a fallacious system anyway. So what I'm going to be giving you is basically a three-step method. There is input, processing, and output. It's a lot like a computer. Data goes in, data gets processed, data goes out. So first and foremost, you need to take the data in. By taking the data in, you are then allowing yourself to have something to process, which means that's the integration aspect, where you make it a part of yourself, part of your nervous system, part of your brain. You can have a degree of control over it because it has gone from something objective outside of you to something that is internal, and there is an inner understanding of the concept or the principle or the skill. And that part is basically going to come through practice of small chunks. Once you identify those small chunks, and then you export it, you let it out. The output is like making the piece. It's like actually going in and filling up your sketchbooks. It is going to figure drawing classes with your charcoal and, taking down what you're seeing in the model. It's like taking this three-step method will allow you to have a lot more proficiency. You actually have a way of sorting something out and then finding a way to integrate it basically through repetition and error feedback checking, just looking for mistakes and correcting them as they arise. And then finally you start to export that, you start to let that out in a way that is visible, and this just feeds itself. It's like a triangle. You just keep going through the graphic shape with the input process output until you start to build a stronger and stronger basis. Now, this is better than nothing. There are a lot more advanced methods of learning. This one is also referred to as the trivium. There's a Wikipedia article about it in the description box below. If Another big issue that I see a lot of people facing is not having the language down of any given thing. And without the language of it, if you can't speak to it, if you can't separate things based on models or linguistic elements, then you're going to have a hard time as well. And it's really it's much easier to build a mental model once you understand these things, and it lets you have more freedom in creating your art because you have these frameworks to actually draw upon, as opposed to like winging it every time or trying to hack it every time. So like I said, if you don't understand like a value structure or what I mean when I say a plumb line, just basically learning as many words as you can that relate to the craft or are specific to the craft, because then once you understand those words, you can translate those words into skills as well. So learning is something that I'm incredibly passionate about because I feel like it's one of the funnest aspects about being a human being. Redundant, about being a human being, because you get to actually watch yourself improve and see that feedback and let go of precepts and notions in order to allow new ones, because you're destroying what is not fact, you're destroying what is a fallacy in favor of creating something that has truth and gets down to the core of what it is that you're seeking to do. So that's like paint beautiful oil paintings or make a graphic novel. It's basically going to be chipping away all the stuff that you don't need, learning the language of what you do, and studying it in bite-sized chunks so that it actually gets in, and then you start to synergize those chunks once they actually work together. So for example, if you understand what a plumb line is and you know how to measure stuff, then maybe you start fitting that together with perspective. And then you have figures with plumb lines and you have perspective, and so you can place your figures accurately in an environment. And this is just the process of synergizing. It's taking the concepts and actually making them work together. So in favor of keeping this video the size of a bite-sized chunk, something digestible, I'm going to recap real quick and then end the video. So basically, you want to keep in mind mileage is a big part of this, so doing it every single day if you can and making a consistent habit out of it does make a huge difference, because once you have the mental model of input, processing, output, then all that mileage will not go to waste. It'll be well used because you actually know what you're doing with it. Another thing to recall is making as much of a connection with your native tongue or your language in regards to the craft as possible. So understanding your edges, your values, plumb lines, perspective, all these terminology oriented things that are going to let you translate the language into the skill and feed that into that process of learning and then exporting it. Finally, remember to synergize. So once you've learned something, once you've inculcated it deeply into your nervous system, then you take it and you mix it with something else that you're learning, because that will not only speed up the process of learning, but it will also allow you to create new combinations that feed off of one another and have a multiplying effect. So, alas, dear Power Painters, that is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Just go ahead and check out the description box for a bunch of good stuff. If you need some fodder for input, I do have courses that are available on my Gumroad or CubeBrush store, both of which can be found in the description box. Like I said, there's the drawing course, the painting course, the evolution course. There's more courses than that'll keep you busy for like 6 to 8 months, honestly. But yeah, thanks for watching. I really, really am having fun making these for you. I love talking about learning and some of the philosophies that have really helped me grow, and sharing these models with you so that you can start to see some more growth yourself, because it's just more fun that way. Like I said, you don't need to hack it, you just got to have a good model for exponential increase. Happy creating and happy learning. Take care, Power Painters. I'm just going to recap real. I suppose that's it.